And we have one last comic coming up at the stage. Please give it up for Lauren Shawl.
That wasn't my music.
It's not even music.
There.
I'm sorry. That was.
Thank you, everyone. Well, folks, I'll share with you that I've been hospitalized many times. But I don't think of myself as a patient. No, I'm a job creator. I've single-handedly created thousands of hours of work for psychiatrists, therapists, psychiatric nurses, and orderlies. I think they ought to give me a reward for this. But frankly, I'd be happy if they just gave me my shoelaces back. Now, in case you didn't know, in a psychiatric hospital, shoelaces are taken away because they're considered contraband. And contraband is anything with which you might kill yourself with. But think about this. How small would you have to be? And how teensy tiny would your neck have to be to do yourself in with a pair of shoelaces? There's only one person who could do that, and that would be a Barbie doll. The suicide model. Can you imagine that? The suicide package would come with a Barbie doll who's slightly overweight, probably due to a side effect of her medications. That silly smile wiped off her face, 2 shoelaces that the staff forgot to take away from her, and to complete her fashion ensemble, a frilly pink straitjacket. Of course, her Ken doll would come with a medical jacket and a mini shock therapy machine. Now, as my teenage daughter used to say all the time, back to me, when I was hospitalized, there was very little privacy. I actually had to blow dry my hair in front of the nurses. Little did they know that it was them. Oh, I'm sorry. It was, that wasn't the joke. This is the joke. When I was hospitalized, there was very little privacy. I had to blow dry my hair in front of the nurses so that they could watch me in case I was going to strangle myself with the cord. Little did they know I was hoping to strangle them instead. They had a community meeting every morning and everyone had to show up. They went over procedures and things you weren't allowed to do, like bother the staff, make a mess, or breathe too loudly. At one point, I was at a vocational rehabilitation program. But before I got sick, I was a genetic engineer and I ran a $1.2 million cloning project. But that wasn't good enough for the rehab staff. They thought they could build my vocational self-esteem by having me paint happy faces on hundreds of wooden flowers. This is true. It's true. And I thought to myself, genetic engineer, wooden flower painter. If I didn't feel like killing myself before, I surely do now. While I was in that program, I found that tutoring a couple of other residents in academic subjects really made me feel like I was doing something meaningful. But the staff didn't like what I was doing and they made me cut it out. They even threatened to throw me out of the program. So, wanting to conform to their expectations, I developed a drinking problem and a hatred of the human race. They were happy and let me stay. So, The people in the hospitals were often very condescending, and they talked down to us. And it went something like this. They were sort of like the Mr. Rogers of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. Now gather around in a big circle, everyone. It's time for current events. Now, can anybody tell me what season this is? Katie, you're right, it's springtime. And what do we see in springtime, Jack? People jumping off of buildings. Well, okay, sometimes. So I'm sitting there, Indian style, in this circle, a full-grown adult with a master's degree, thinking, I can't stand this. Lord, take me away now. And in case you haven't been keeping track, that's the second time that being in the mental health system has made me want to kill myself. Now let's get back to our learning circle, shall we? Alrighty, everyone, let's move on to learning about our mental health. Can you spell psychosis? That's a toughie. But I'll give you a hint. It's when someone goes to the Magic Kingdom for a while. And Jack here has been non-compliant. Jack, do you know how to spell seclusion room? I made those last two up. Forgive me. But it really was that ridiculous. About a year later, my husband and I decided that we wanted to start a family. And I decided that if I was going to have children, that suicide was not an option. It was off the table. That is until they turned into teenagers. And I felt really badly about that, until my sister took me aside and said, Lauren, don't you know that's why gerbils eat their young? Well, audience, these types of incidents have helped prepare me for the work that I do today, which is working for behavioral health for the city of Philadelphia. If I could say that correctly, it would probably come out a lot better. It's a big jump from being a scientist, but I love what I do, and thank you for listening to my story.